Let us pray. Almighty God, we willingly acknowledge you as a supreme being, most gracious and most merciful. Look down, we beseech you, on us who are members of this Senate, and deign to assist us in the duties that we have to perform on behalf of our beloved country of Trinidad and Tobago. Open our eyes to see the truth and help us to accept it with all its implications into our lives. Direct us, O Lord, in our deliberations, so that setting aside private interests, unwholesome prejudices, and personal affections, we may treat all matters set before us with honesty, courage, and conviction. Through all we say and do in this Senate, may we give glory and honor to your holy name, inspire confidence in our fellow citizens, and make a positive contribution to the peace and prosperity of our nation. Amen.
Announcements by the President. Bills brought from the House of Representatives. Announcements by the President.
Honorable Senators, I have received a request for leave of absence from Senator Damian Lyda. Honorable Senators, I am awaiting the instrument from Her Excellency, and we will revert to this item on the order paper later in the proceedings.
Bills brought from the House of Representatives. Petitions, papers.
Minister of Trade and Industry.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I have the honor to lay the following paper as listed on the order paper in my name. The annual administrative report of InvestTT Limited for the financial year ended September 30th, 2019. Thank you.
Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, I have the honor to lay on the table the following papers listed on the order paper in the name of the Minister of Finance. The report of the Auditor General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on the statement of recovery of expenses of the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries for the year ended December 31st, 2020. Thank you.
Public business. Government business. Bills, second reading.
Honourable members, the debate on the second reading of the following bill, which was in progress when the Senate adjourned on Monday, October the 18th, 2021, will be resumed. A bill entitled, An Act to Provide for the Service of Trinidad and Tobago for the financial year ending on the 30th day of September 2022. Those who have spoken in the debate are as follows: the Honourable Colm Imber, MP, Minister of Finance, who was the mover of the motion, Senator Wade Mark, Senator Sharice Sipasad, the Honourable Stuart Young, MP, Senator the Honourable Rohan Sinanan, Senator Damian Lyda, Senator Amrita Deonarine, Senator the Honourable Avinash Singh, Senator the Honourable Paula Gopi-Skoon, Senator Dr. Maria Dillon Remy, Senator the Honourable Kazim Hussain, Senator Anthony Vera, Senator Nigel De Freitas, Senator Ndale Young. Minister of Public Utilities.
Thank you very much.
My apologies, Minister. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, Honorable Senator Dillon Remy, the children, my children, are watching. As this PNM government and this PNM Prime Minister has stared us into the perfect storm of a constitutional crisis of epic proportions never before seen in the English-speaking Caribbean. Yes, ma'am, our children are watching. As a misogynist claims to be a feminist, our children are looking on. as the term independent institutions and the word independent are given new definitions by people of questionable convenient ethics, our children paid close attention. Our children are watching as this very honorable House passed a bill that gutted strong procurement legislation designed to protect their birthright from would-be thieves. Our children watched as their parents suffer under the harsh austerity measures implemented by this oppressive, dictatorial, heartless PNM government, while the Honorable Prime Minister and 18 other ministers recused themselves from cabinet meetings a whopping 210 times due to beneficial conflicts of interest. The children of Trinidad and Tobago watched yesterday as a government senator who sometimes presides over critical debates in this, the Honorable Senate of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, told our UNC opposition senators of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, who all carry passports and birth papers which state Trinidad and Tobago, a unitary state, a twin island paradise, where every creed and race shall, not may, find an equal place. We were told by the Honorable Senator to stay out of Tobago people business. Well, half of me nearly fainted inside the Senate. That is like a husband who is actively abusing his female child, telling his wife and mother of the said child, stay out of daddy-daughter business. Shame on you, sir. Shame on the PNM. So yes, Honorable Senator, our children are certainly watching, analyzing, understanding, and taking copious notes. I thought it would have been a no-brainer that sport would have been a definite area of focus for a government on the proverbial ropes. But I was wrong, as the PNM has fallen prey to the rope-a-dope and has totally ignored sport as an industry, sport tourism, sport medicine tourism, sport marketing, sport media, sport merchandising, sport growth polls, sports management, sport as a unifier, health and sport. The Honorable Minister of Sport, who now holds the portfolio when she was moved from tourism to sport, posted on a public Facebook page, when your own dog bite you, you're very well bitten. She then attacked the sport portfolio with the zeal of a PNM meat eater at a Diwali curry dinner. The Minister of Finance, in his budget debate 2021-2022, mentioned the construction of a pool in Mova, and I was shocked as video footage would show the Honorable Prime Minister, the then Minister of Public Utilities and now Minister of National Security and other ministers cutting the ribbon for this pool in Mova on June 23rd, 2019. But in a budget in 2021-2022, the PNM is taking credit again for building the pool. I guess it's a 50-meter now. They built 25 twice. The Honorable Minister also said that this brand new pool was also upgraded in the same financial year. So they constructed a pool in a financial year and upgraded it. That is the efficiency of the PNM. They said that opportunities for sport tourism were abounding and that Trinidad and Tobago would be set to benefit from hosting of cricket matches, West Indies versus England. Well, before this budget is even passed in the Senate, yesterday the Cricket West Indies announced the host for the series between England and the West Indies from January to March 2022. And not one game, not one ball, not one stump, not one catch for Trinidad and Tobago. Such is the policy of the PNM. They then said that we will get World Cup cricket under 19 in January 2022. We wait for that. And they talked about a powerboat race, a sport tourism. Maybe we will put some stands in the Gulf of Paria for people to buy tickets to sit down on top of Kingfish. This PNM government has no ideas, no plans, no investment, no money, and no respect for sport. On top of that, the Honorable Minister of Finance said on page 107 of the budget, the Minister of Sport and Community Development will provide further details on our sporting programs during the debate. I waiting with bated breath. I have not heard a whisper. Maybe no one lives there. 26,000 words in a budget, less than 300 on sport, 3 hours and 38 minutes of PNM drivel, 1.5 minutes on sport. No contribution by the Minister of Sports. PNM has no understanding of sport, no plan for sport, no respect for sport. The United National Congress understands the magic of sport, the opportunities in sport, and the power of sport. I will illustrate that power here today by presenting the real sport budget, since it seems that some members of the PNM feel that is the opposition, who does not have the Prime Minister, who does not form the cabinet, who has control of not one red cent, that we are the ones who should carry the budget debate. Okay, I accept your challenge. I carry the budget debate here on sport today, since you have shirked your duty. The PNM, I will paint a true picture of the incompetence, lack of vision, lack of planning, lack of understanding, and lack of ability of this heartless, arrogant failure of a PNM government, as lucidly depicted by this inept, incomplete, contradictory budget, which has been aptly described by the honorable leader of the opposition as a declaration of war on the people. Sport is of the people. Sport represents the hope of the people. Sport allows people to dream. Sport unites the people. Sport inspires the people. Sport disciplines generations of people. Sport increases the productivity of the people. Tolerance is engendered through sport. To disrespect sport is to disrespect all of the people. This PNM budget completely ignores sport. Therefore, it is clear that this PNM government uplifts themselves while oppressing the people. Sports can go where politics cannot. This Rowley PNM has fractured our nation along multiple dimensions. Along the dimensions of race, class, haves versus have-nots, religion, geographic location, and now the vaccinated versus the non-vaccinated, as those with natural immunity figure out and try to feel where they belong in this society of manufactured and manipulated science. Sport, and only sport, can fill the chasms of division exacerbated by this PNM Prime Minister and this PNM government. 1989, November 19th, one can remember total unity in red, white, and black across Trinidad and Senator De Freitas, Tobago, as our strike squad prepared to take on the USA. November 2005, even though our footballers were thousands of miles away playing in Bahrain, you could feel the tension, the love, the support across religions, races, ethnicities, people, all of Trinidad and Tobago united and went up in celebration as Dwight York took the corner and Dennis Torlis Lawrence jumped to head home to send Trinidad and Tobago to qualify for the World Cup. The unity was solid. In July 2006, as our Soca Warriors played in Germany, Trinbagonians in Germany, outside Germany, the diaspora, and here on both islands were glued to their TV in a feeling of patriotic love, togetherness. Businesses were flourishing, sponsorship endorsements were occurring as we held on to the mighty Sweden of Ibrahimovic and Lundberg and held them 0-0 to a draw. We held on to the mighty United Kingdom to 83 minutes 0-0 before a Rastaman's locks were pulled. But the love, the respect, the patriotism, and the opportunity was there. August 2012, Keshawn Walcott prepared to throw a javelin that had been handed to him, purchased by the taxpayers' money, well before anyone knew him, by that then Minister of Sport of the United National Congress and of the People's Partnership, as the PNM never thought and saw it fit to outfit these athletes. And that javelin, as we sat and watched him in the final of the London Olympics, flew 84 meters, 58 centimeters to bring gold and glory with Trinidad and Tobago emblazoned on his chest. That was the investment of Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the People's Partnership in their belief in sport. Nelson Mandela brought separated, divided racially South Africa together by utilizing sport. It was rugby, a previously white Anglo-Saxon game, the team, the Proteas, that the black South Africans had grown to hate. Nelson Mandela embraced them, unified the country through the World Cup Rugby in 1995 by embracing the Proteas, being forgiven, and hosting a World Cup and going on to victory. Mandela later said in 2000, and I quote, "Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite the people in ways that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where there was only despair." Nelson Mandela. This, I say, is true. Unfortunately, sport does not have sufficient power to ignite a fire of love, care, respect, empathy, and patriotism in this decadent, heartless, oppressive PNM government. It is therefore no surprise that this government, clawing its way into power on the devilish shoulders of deceit and division, would make it its mission to decimate sport. In 1995, 1996, as I coached athletes here in Trinidad and Tobago to go to the Olympics, the PNM still did not respect sport. I had to coach them in a pool in Jumbo Gym on McIntyre Street in St. Augustine, in a pool that if you swim straight, you would bump into the wall because the mason was not skillful and the wall was built with a curve. But when I would go to Mexico, Nelson Vargas, who later became the Minister of Sport in Mexico, would offer all of his facilities. He had 45 25-meter pools and 11 50-meter pools across Mexico. He allowed a Trinbagonian coach with Trinbagonian athletes preparing for the Olympics to choose what pool at what altitude I wanted to train in for 4 weeks free of charge. Such is the respect for sport and the opportunities of other countries. Sport is so powerful that some leaders will go to all sorts of nefarious means to try to show that they are a great country. The Sochi Olympics 2014 was an example of this, when Vladimir Putin was trying to show the world that Russia was still great, that its economic, social powers and its geopolitical position would be improved. He created such a dastardly plan to cheat, to actually build into the doping control a secret compartment where his KGB agents had invented a tool to unlock the samples of gold medal winning athletes. And he would take dirty samples, open them, and put in clean samples just to present an idea of power in sport. That just shows how important sport is. Yet in Trinidad and Tobago, we have to listen for 3 hours and 38 minutes and get a minute and a half on sport. I cry shame on this government for not understanding. In USA, the mighty USA, the greatest power in the world, they win at every sport except football, what they call soccer. And back in 1970s and 1980s, they tried, and they knew that to be a superpower, you must control and be competitive in the main sport in the world, the greatest participatory sport, which is football. They invested in the grassroots programs, in the coaches, in the leagues, in the YMCA, in the states, in the communities, in the high schools. And now the USA is a perennial qualifier, a top-ranked team in the top 10, reaching the quarterfinal of the World Cup and having won several female World Cups and Olympic gold medals. Why? Because sport is power, sport is hope, sport is patriotism, sport is diversification, sport is economic opportunity, but the PNM cannot see this. The ethos of sport, it's a natural inculcation of values such as leadership, good health, teamwork, fair play, self-reliance, and continuous improvement. All these facets are missing in this PNM government. The proof is in the pudding. As I gaze at the PNM government bench in the Senate, I see not one single former national athlete, 0 out of 16. Yet on the UNC opposition bench, I see 2 former national athletes who put blood, sweat, and tears for this country. 2 out of 6, 33 1/3%, as opposed to 0 times 0 on the PNM side. Probably why this budget attempted to zero-rate curry and smoked herring twice. the importance of sport for the development of women. This PNM cut funding to sport to the bare bones. The UNC had women in sport programs, coaching caravan, the coach education and certification program, the Spirit of Sport Awards, recognizing female trainers, coaches, psychologists, physiotherapists across the board. That was cancelled and shut down in 2016 by the PNM. This minister got resources on request for women footballers back in 2013, 2014. Not only did the UNC Minister of Sport then go to the cabinet to get resources for the women's senior national team, he quietly, without fanfare, without picture, without video, without live on Facebook, went twice a week and coached these senior women and took them to the closest they have ever come to World Cup qualification, just stumbling on the last hurdle. That's what a UNC Minister of Sport does, without picture, without big check, without any gallery. This PNM put a foreign futsal coach from the PNM Normalization Committee with the PNM chairman and the PNM NFM chairman on the board. They just disrespected every single coach in Trinidad and Tobago and chose a man, a foreigner, who's coaching futsal to coach our women football. That is like putting a coach who coaches diving to coach swimming. They're two separate, different sports. And then we hear yesterday, after an episode of Douglas Politics, that he has been fired. And Kenwin Jones, a proud Trinbagonian, has been hired. So Douglas Politics will run the Ministry of Sport. I have no problem with that. A misogynist will never have the advancement of women at the top of his agenda, Madam Senator. National pride through sport is a policy across the globe. One can think back to the East Germans. East Germany, when the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, the world became aware of a plan so secret by the East German government. It was as secret as their nuclear war, nuclear defense, nuclear proliferation. It was a plan to promote the socialist ideals of the government and the policies of their politics by performance and international superiority in sport through a systematic doping program. This is how far people will go. While I will never, ever endorse or encourage cheating at any level, I am making these points to show you that what lengths people will go to emphasize sport. Yet in Trinidad and Tobago, I have to sit here and debate a budget that has ignored sport completely, ignored our children, ignored the dreams of children, ignored the talent identification, the opportunities to wear the red, white, and black proudly, to build businesses for media, for endorsement, for sport tourism medicine. It's all been neglected, and that is a great opportunity for diversification of the economy. Sport is $1 trillion a year business globally. We can see also in 1982 in Cuba, I was privileged to go to witness the Central American and Caribbean Games. And Cuba was dominating in all sports because Fidel Castro had done two things on his agenda: health for his people and sport. And Cuba was winning medals in every sphere except swimming. They had one opportunity, Pedro Hernandez in the 200 meters breaststroke, and I was sitting there waiting for this event to go. And before that was the 400 freestyle. At that time, I saw about 14 men in jackets looking like Senator Wade Mark in his OWTU outfit coming and standing up and standing still. Fidel Castro came and sat about 8 meters away from me. He had arrived early to see Cuba win their gold medal in the 200 breaststroke. An unknown Cuban swimmer was in the 400-meter freestyle, and he was in lane 8. Lane 8 means he was supposed to come dead last by a good mile. Alberto Mestre, the great Venezuelan, was in lane 4, a man who had won 50-meter, 100-meter, 200-meter, and the 800 and 1500-meter freestyles, and this was the 400. Lopez, when they introduced him in lane 8, Fidel Castro stood up and clapped twice. And Lopez swam 22 seconds faster than he ever swam, passed out at the end and was taken to the hospital for oxygen, winning a silver medal. Never before, never after did he swim so fast. But this is the passion and inspiration that sports provides for a country. Australia, the United Kingdom, the USA, and Colorado have invested in their academies and the institutes of sport with sports science, sport testing, sports products, sports health, food. And we in Trinidad and Tobago are now sitting in the doldrums, the darkness, without investment, without belief, without even a concept. Nicholas Paul, our great cyclist who looks to be the greatest, fastest cyclist in the world, has to train outside of Trinidad and Tobago, even though he has the best cycling velodrome in the Western Hemisphere, because we have not embarked on investment in coaches, in sports science, in massage therapy, in physiotherapy for this great athlete. The Aquatic Center has sat there without investment during the months of November to January, with the Thanksgiving and Christmas into the holidays in the winter in the north. That aquatic center, if marketed properly through our students who are abroad on scholarship and away at universities in the USA, Canada, and Europe, could generate upwards of 2.1 million US in that 2.5-month period, enough to run that facility for the entire year so our children can use it free of charge. But there is no dream, no mission. The National Tennis Center here, built by the United National Congress, has now been getting great acclaim, but the PNM has no plans and programs. And yes, they will blame COVID, but COVID only reached in December 2019 and arrived here on our shores in February, March 2020. What happened to 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19? All our stadia, recreational grounds are in a state of total disrepair. The budget is saying, the Honorable Minister of Finance said that they have just undertaken an audit to see what should be done. I am telling you, as Minister of Sport back in 2012, this was done for all our stadia. The Dwight York Stadia, 120 million was approved for all the infrastructure that had been ravaged by the sea, sand, and salt, all the electrical and the plumbing works that needed to be done, the roof that was about to collapse, the Hazy Crawford Stadium, same thing. This work had been done. So for a PNM minister to come now and pretend after 6 years that they are now taking an assessment of what they may invest in, which will take another 4 years, is totally disrespectful and not on. Sport is so powerful that it engendered political change. In 1980, the USA boycotted the Moscow Olympics to show the world and to put pressure on Russia to get out of Afghanistan. In 1984, many African nations boycotted the Los Angeles Olympics because Ronald Reagan, president then, was refusing to speak down and was continuing to conduct business with the apartheid regime in South Africa. The African countries sent such a powerful message through sport that Ronald Reagan, within a year, capitulated and ceased relations with the apartheid regime in South Africa. Muhammad Ali fought for civil rights for black people and took himself out of the running for large money world championships to fight, to use the power of sport to unite and to alert the world about the Jim Crow civil rights abuses in the USA, and he brought sweeping change that continues in the Black Lives Matter all now. In 1968 Mexico Games, we can still see the raised fists of Tommy Smith and John Carlos after the 200 meters that sent a signal to the world that we must treat everybody equally, and the fight continues. They showed solidarity at that time with that raised gloved fist with Stokely Carmichael, better known as Kwame Ture, a man born in Trinidad and Tobago, but who was banned by the PNM, the black leader of the Black Panthers, who was hailed across the globe for fighting for black people, was banned by the People's National Movement from ever coming home. It was the East Indian Prime Minister Bastio Pandey in 1997 who dropped that ban and allowed Stokely Carmichael to return to the land of his birth, but yet we play race card for election. Shame, I cry shame. This is the globally accepted manifestation and application of the phenomenon that is the power of sport. But not for this PNM, not for this Prime Minister, not for this Minister of Finance, not in this budget 2021-2022, certainly not for this Minister of Sport. Like stick break in the PNM ears. He who feels it normally knows it. But this PNM government feels nothing. The sting, the pain, the neglect felt by our athletes as they fell one by one in the face of insurmountable odds at the Tokyo Olympics a mere 2 months ago, through no fault of their own, but due to the lack of care, thought, investment, passion and resources proffered by this neglectful PNM, our athletes were set up, even attacked by the PNM mayor of San Fernando, Junior Regrello, who attacked the athletes and said that they were a waste of time and a waste of taxpayers' money and they should not go. Yet his PNM government has wasted $59,000 on roaming bill because we didn't know how to switch off the roaming. $3 million on half a golf course in Caranage, millions on paintings, $80 million on an IFC with no results whatsoever, just to give Papa Smallpin a walk. $64 million on advice for restructuring of Petrotrin, millions to defend the Attorney General's bad law in the courts, but they cannot invest in our athletes and our children. The PNM nonchalantly, carelessly, heartlessly sent our warriors into battle unprepared, under-resourced, and disrespected by 5 years of budget cuts and the minister who power walks for exercise. Did this painful experience leave an indelible mark on the consciousness of the PNM, seeing our athletes fall without a medal in Tokyo? No. In the words of Sprang Alang, it got worse. They blame COVID, but COVID not here 6 years. COVID presented the governments of other countries with sporting bodies, coaches, athletes, with a modicum of knowledge, understanding, and planning around the globe with opportunities. COVID-19 lockdowns and COVID-19 put areas where coaches, trainers, sportsmen, scientists could try new things, could have more focus on their athletes. That was what was manifested itself in the great performances we are seeing at the Olympics and in other sporting activities now. Those with brain took advantage. We in Trinidad and Tobago were stuck, unfortunately, with the PNM. As seen by the PNM has bungled COVID. The PNM has bungled sport. Sporting opportunity was lost during this COVID due to porous borders here in Trinidad and Tobago. Still, the Cutlass vessels are not operational, even though that was the panacea for porous borders that have existed before COVID and during COVID, bringing death and destruction, Brazilian variant, Delta variant, and any variant that could swim across. It even brought a boat dead with whatever it came with, and it's still parked up in Tobago. Non-existent vaccination procurement early on, a knowledge vacuum that has created the highest levels of vaccine hesitancy in the Caribbean. Only 41% of our country is now fully vaccinated because there was no discussion, no education, no humility. There was arrogance and there was abuse, and people are fed up, and there was a vacuum that was filled by some misinformation, some good information, and a lot of information that was not directed by the government because the government had no plan. And this budget continues the no plan PNM. Poor science, poor nonsensical regulations that say we can go in a water park to use recycled water with chlorine but cannot go in the pristine sea created by God Almighty. We cannot go in the rivers. We cannot go in the open air and the sunlight. But we can go in a friend and financier's water park to spend money. No organized sport for 18 months. The world progressed and we regressed. It's the worst ever Olympic performance in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, dating way back to 1948 when we won our first medal with Rodney Wilkes, and 1952 with Rodney Wilkes and Lennox Kilgore. And we went on from there throughout to provide Trinidad and Tobago with a source of inspiration, pride, and development. This PNM government has overseen the most desperate performance in the history of our nation. I feel for our athletes because they went out into the world to fight without armor and without ammunition. Netball this weekend, already we are proud world champions in netball. Some of the young people may not even remember that 1979 team that won the World Cup. Yet our netballers have gone to Jamaica. Unfortunately, before they left, I said a prayer for them, but I knew what was on the cards because of lack of preparation, lack of ability to train, lack of resources, lack of planning, lack of science, lack of institutions. And they went to Jamaica and they lost the first game by 49 goals. Trinidad and Tobago, that's how deep the PNM has fallen, has taken our country, that our proud world champions are now running last. No leagues, no school, no sport, no leadership. Just total, complete capitulation by the incompetent PNM. Sport is about image, national pride. Sport is about mind share, sport marketing. Mind share can be monetized. If we have products to sell, if we had Petrotrin, if we had downstream products, we could sell just like when the world was watching our Trinidad and Tobago Red Force in 2009 in the Champions League under Darren Ganga, when we went 6 games undefeated and went straight into the final against New South Wales, only to lose. But still, for 3 hours, 1.2 billion people looked at Trinidad and Tobago emblazoned on their chest, and that was a mind share that could have been monetized and should be monetized going forward. But not again. No one looks, no one sees. Our performances are not there because the PNM does not believe in sport. Doping scandals damage the image of a country. The anti-doping bill was passed by me in the House and the Senate with unanimous approval, and it was proclaimed in June 2015. That was 2013. Up to now, 6 years later, under the PNM, not one iota of that anti-doping bill has been implemented. The PNM is boasting about paying fees for membership to the World Anti-Doping Association. Shame on the PNM. Where's our TADO? Where's our lab? Where's our information? Where are we protecting our athletes? Our athletes are out there in a world with lots of nefarious people willing to put anything in their bodies that will damage our reputation, but the PNM does not care. Just leave the bill collecting dust wherever it is now. In September 2015 to October 2021, nothing was done. The anti-dope bill needs to be passed, proclaimed and enacted at Balize House. We need an anti-dope bill. The PNM has failed at every single aspect of sport. Even in the areas of previous success, total participation in sport. Existing facilities are in total decay before COVID, worse under COVID. Guaracara Park is a place to feed cow. All stadia in Trinidad and Tobago, the Manny Ramjohn, you can drive your car if you want to practice and see if your shocks working. It is like a Maracas beach in November. Big waves of asphalt, the scoreboard collapsing, the roof collapsing, the total place, they're a dilapidated mess. Lack of maintenance of these brilliant facilities built by the United National Congress. The aquatic center turned green in 2018. The cycling velodrome under the PNM had no air condition for 18 months. They cannot even service an air condition. The former Minister of Sport, brother, is an air conditioned man. They could not even do that. The no AstroTurf for hockey. Gary Griffith come in and build a hockey turf quicker than the PNM Sport Company and the PNM Minister of Sport. Now they want to get rid of him. Total decay, devastation, and deplorable depreciation of sporting assets. The Palo Seco Velodrome and Sporting Complex is now a forest feeding monkey and chimps. The Palo Seco Games of 1984, I remember going down there at 15 years old with my parents, and when I saw Gene Samuel in the red, black, and white, along with the 4 other Trinidad and Tobago team, the inspiration and pride that I felt seeing them beat USA around that track that is now bush, forest, and razor grass under this PNM. The Southern Games is dead. PNM policy of closing facilities to the public. The growth polls envisaged by this minister and the People's Partnership was in Couva to have the Arthur Bolden Stadium, the aquatic center, the cycling velodrome, a BMX center, for the hotels would be built, and then we would encourage a growth poll where private sector businessmen could go set up malls, health food facilities, dentists, doctors, massage therapists, and create an area, because that place would have been a hub of activity as children and families come to utilize the facilities. The parents would exercise while the children would do their training, their diving, their aquatics, their synchronized swimming, and then they would all partake in smoothies.
Senator Roberts, you have 5 more minutes.
Thank you, Madam President. That was the vision. The PNM came and just shut it down, lock it down, and the citizens cannot even use their own facilities under the PNM. And I'm not talking about during COVID. COVID just reached. I'm talking about since the PNM reached. The PNM is worse than COVID. The UNC in 2013, budget in sport, 2013-2014, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Larry Hawaii, spoke about sport in the front end of the budget, the business end of the budget, sport tourism, sport growth polls, development, sport management, sport agencies. Sport under the PNM for the last 7 budgets has been relegated to a 2-minute drill. I see some of the PNM Boys and them, they know what to do in 2 minutes. The UNC believes in the power of sport, understands the business of sport, was and will again assist in the diversification of the national economy through creative, careful, consistent investment in sport. Here are some of the future plans of the UNC. And when I mean future, I mean near future. Football. The United National Congress will work with the duly elected TTFA, not the PNM Normalization Committee, with the duly elected by teams under the constitution of the TTFA to draw down and pay down the $100 million debt, because football is life. Football is Trinidad and Tobago, and it is the responsibility of the government to make sure that football can thrive, and we must help football get out of the hole that it's in. The UNC will support fully the TT Pro League to the tune of $11.74 million per year and the Super League to $5 million per year. They will make all of the stadia free access to the secondary schools football. Women's team will be developed during and have local coaches of great prowess and understanding and qualification. We will focus on futsal, beach football across the board. The PNM Normalization Committee, who threatens players before they play Mexico, will be gone and will not get support from the United National Congress. We are a democracy and we thrive on democratic principles. Cricket is our life, our lifeblood, and cricket we call the Douglas sport, because when you see a national team, it shows real unity. When you see our Red Force or our Trinidad and Tobago 4-day team, it is a mix of everything Trinidad and Tobago, and that they will get the support across the board for a development academy, the coach education and certification, junior team selection and equipment. Netball, the UNC will bring a professional netball league into Trinidad and Tobago so our athletes can play netball, live on netball, and take care of their families. Too many of our players have to work hard as police officers, fire officers, army officers, and after a full day's work, then they have to go and run hard and train. That cannot work in the world of netball now. So a professional league for netball, track and field and marathon, we will engender and copy Jamaica. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We will put coaches down in the primary schools to identify talent, secondary schools, and engender brilliance in track and field with the investment. Auto sports, circuit, F3, drag racing, drifting, rallying. We will build a facility at the PNM's Caroni horse racing track that still have mud and not a horse run. We will build a facility for auto sport that will engender brilliance, investment, science, and opportunity. Swimming, diving, water polo, synchronized swimming. The PNM has not even brought a coach to teach diving. We have diving boards, 10 meter, 7 meter, 5 meter, 3 meter springboard, 1 meter springboard. Not a child dive yet because there's not a coach in this country to teach diving. The PNM did not even use the UNC's cabinet note that had Chinese coaches. China is #1 in the world in diving. They win 10 out of 10 gold medals in diving. The note is sitting there 7 years. Not a coach, not a dive, but they let the pool turn green. Triathlon, cycling, road and track. We identify performance and provide coaching and investment. Tennis is a big money sport, and we have the best facility in the Western Hemisphere. We will provide opportunities and tournaments looking to get an ITF and a WTA tournament. Golf, increasing the coach knowledge and ability for our young golfers to go outside and get competition. In Tobago, surfing, sailing, windsurfing, kite surfing, skateboarding will be developing sport facilities. As I see the minister laughing because she has done nothing in foreign direct investment, minus $439 million US, but yet you sit there and laugh. Madam Minister of Trade and Industry, you keep laughing. Free diving, spearfishing, scuba diving, sport
Senator
fishing,
Roberts,
marine fishing.
your time is
And
up.
Thank you, Madam President, and much, much more.
Honourable Senators, we will now revert to the original item on the order paper about which I spoke earlier. I am in receipt of the instrument of appointment. By Her Excellency Paula May Weeks, ORTT, President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to Dr. Tim Gopi Singh. Whereas Senator Damian Lyder is incapable of performing his duties as a senator by reason of illness. Now, therefore, I, Paula May Weeks, President, as aforesaid, in exercise of the power vested in me by Section 44(1)(b) and Section 44(4)(b) of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, acting in accordance with the advice of the Leader of the Opposition, do hereby appoint you, Tim Gopi Singh, to be a member of the Senate temporarily with effect from the 19th of October 2021 and continuing during the absence of Senator Damian Lyder by reason of illness. Given under my hand and the seal of the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago at the Office of the President St. Anne's, this 19th day of October 2021. Honorable Senators, a senator is required to take the oath.
I, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, having been appointed a Member of Parliament, do swear by the Bhagavad Gita that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago, will uphold the Constitution and the law, and will conscientiously and impartially discharge the responsibilities to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, upon which I am about to enter.
May I please ask that members remain quiet? Please. Minister of Public Utilities.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Madam President, it gives me great honor and I feel a sense of privilege to come to this chamber, this upper chamber, to make my budget contribution for the financial year 2022. Madam President, first, let me thank the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, for the confidence that he has reposed in me to lead the Ministry of Public Utilities in this very interesting and dynamic time, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but the world. I also wish to express my sincere congratulations to the Minister of Finance and his team at the Ministry of Finance, as well as my cabinet colleague, Minister Camille Robinson-Regis and her team at that ministry for the great work that they have done in providing this financial blueprint for the governance of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam President, I wish to thank senators on both sides for this opportunity to come and contribute in this debate so that I can signal to the national community my plans and the government's plan for the public utility sector in Trinidad and Tobago. But before I do so, Madam President, I think it is incumbent upon me to just spare a couple minutes to respond to the last speaker. Madam President, first, let me say, it is very difficult to respond to drunken ramblings. Madam President, let me also apologize to the children of Trinidad and Tobago. Because say what you may want to say about us as a people and as a nation, Dr. Eric Williams did not live and sacrifice his life for what we have just seen in this chamber. Madam President, our children deserve better. Our people and our citizens deserve better. We may have our political differences as a country, but Madam President, I must say that what we have seen and what we have heard by the last speaker, we can do better as a country, and we can do better in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The last speaker, Madam President, gave a whole iteration about what his plans are for sports in Trinidad and Tobago, taking shots at the Honorable Prime Minister, taking shots at my cabinet colleague, Minister Shamfor Kojo, and the Member of Parliament for Tobago West, taking shots at my colleagues on this side, and that might be all right in the politics. We might accept that as part of the politics, the adversarial nature of politics. But as I sat there, Madam President, and I listened to him, I thought I would have heard some commentary on this dastardly act and program that we call live sport in Trinidad and Tobago. Because it was very difficult to listen to what he was saying. It was very difficult to listen and hear what he was saying, Madam President, without recalling what this country was placed through, what our young people were placed through not too long ago under a Ministry of Sports led by the last speaker. A program that was first designed, Madam President, to cost the taxpayers of this country $50 or $45 million, escalated to $500 million. What are the benefits for the people of Trinidad and Tobago? It left in its wake a trail of death, destruction, and mayhem. Death, destruction, and mayhem. And he stands before this Senate this morning, stands before the people of Trinidad and Tobago, Madam President, and our young people, and pretends that he is this angel coming to save this country.
And in order 46, 6 and 8 respectively.
So, Minister, with respect to the standing order that has been invoked, you have been using some language with respect to the a member of this chamber, and I will ask you to just dial it back, please. Okay?
Thank you very much, Madam President, and I'm duly guided. But, Madam President, before I leave this point, I want to say that with senators like Nigel de Freitas, Senator Sugram Singh, Senator Laurel Izama Leasing, all the senators on this floor, on this side of this House, we will continue to do our work passionately. We will continue to do our work in a way that the people of Trinidad and Tobago will always be proud of. We will continue to lead our lives in ways that we can stand before any citizen and any child, any boy and any girl, and there will be nothing that we will do in our office and in response and with our sacred responsibilities and our oath of office. We will always do right for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and regardless whatever you may say about the PNM, regardless of whatever you may say about our great party, we will not put forward people that this country will not be proud of. And I wish once again to apologize to the people of Trinidad and Tobago for what we have just heard and seen displayed a short while ago. And I would say no more on that. Madam President, we are living in a very interesting time. We just came out of an economic downturn between 2015, 2014 to 2020. The price of oil and gas plummeted, and this country over the years saw dwindling financial resources at its disposal. This government took a very difficult decision to close the gap between our revenues and expenditure, because we could not have continued living our lives in such a way where we are spending more than what we are earning. Before 2020, Madam President, this government was able to close the gap between our revenues and our expenditure, and the fundamentals of our economy was being placed on sound footing to secure the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, by 2020, a global pandemic hit, and this government was called into action again to protect the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And as we do so, Madam President, we've heard all kinds of attacks. We have endured all kinds of attacks. We had to engage in policies to lock down our borders, to protect our citizens, impose public health regulations on our citizens to ensure that we come out of this alive, Madam President. And Madam President, in the midst of this, our public utility sector had to rise to the fore to ensure that we enjoy a level of stability in Trinidad and Tobago. The utilities, Madam President, has found themselves on the front line of the pandemic with their services being deemed essentials. They satisfy our basic wants. It provides the basic needs of our society, such as water, wastewater, electricity, telecommunications, postal, and sanitation services. The utilities, Madam President, does play an important role in fostering improvements in the quality of life for all of our citizens and the well-being of the national population. But however, Madam President, the pandemic has required us to dramatically adjust how we operate. It comes at a time when utilities throughout the entire world are in the midst of a period of rapid evolution as they cope with rapid evolving market dynamics, changes in consumer habits and expectations, new technologies, new regulatory models, and of course, Madam President, the impact of climate change. The operating business models, Madam President, that satisfy consumer demands over the last years are no longer applicable. And therefore, in order for our public utility sector to survive for the next 10, 20, or 25 years, a new business model must be adopted by TNTech, our electricity sector, our water sector, our postal sector, the telecommunications sector, and of course, our sanitation services. The utility sector has had to contend with the negative impacts of climate change. We would have seen, Madam President, recently with extreme weather conditions, several of our water infrastructure around the country had to be shut down because of the quality of water now flowing into our watersheds, now flowing into our intakes and our detention ponds and our reservoirs, etc. The impact of climate change is taking an untold effect on our utility sector. All across Trinidad and Tobago, especially in rural communities, our electricity infrastructure is being plummeted, is being hard hit by extreme weather patterns and extreme weather conditions. And therefore, in order to prepare and to provide a basis and a foundation so that our utility sector can operate with a robust platform, we need to change our business model, and we need to do so quickly. Madam President, we have to look at our resilience to the impact of climate change and the changing dynamics. Resilience helps our utilities to withstand adverse weather events. It minimizes damage and rapidly recover from disruptions of service. This can be achieved through adaptable and holistic planning, adoption of automated technologies, equipment modification and upgrade of new capital investment, building resilience and adaptability into our electricity, water, wastewater, and postal grids must therefore be addressed with the greatest sense of urgency. Madam President, to successfully navigate through this ever-changing environment, utilities are required to create flexible and agile operations that will enable service-centric customer focus while delivering significant improvements in their services. Therefore, Madam President, the time for action in our utility sector is now. What have we done over the last year in the Ministry of Public Utilities? The government will continue to provide the enabling policy environment for our utilities to successfully navigate through these difficult times. And this is what we have done over the last year. The Ministry of Public Utilities, working in collaboration with key stakeholders, has made important strides in modernizing the policy, planning, and legislative framework for our utility sector. Madam President, despite the major disruption caused by the pandemic, we were still able to record some notable achievements in the utility sector in fiscal 2021, and I will highlight just a few. Important initiatives undertaken in this regard includes the revision of the policy framework for an integrated water resource management program, energy conservation and energy efficiency policy, the integrated solid waste resource management program, the beverage container deposit refund system, and energy efficiency and energy conservation. Madam President, what we have recognized is that in the water sector, our fresh water is a renewable but a finite and vulnerable natural resource which needs to be carefully and sustainably managed, especially given the impact of climate change and the multiple demands which are placed on all this all-encompassing and universal resource by all sectors of the economy. The freshwater ecosystem, Madam President, it consists of rivers, our streams, and our ponds, our reservoirs, dams, and water aquifers. But what we have recognized, Madam President, is that in tackling the water crisis in this country, there was an absence of a coordinated approach by the various sectors that impact upon our water ecosystem. The integrated water management policy that the ministry will soon take to Cabinet in less than 2 weeks would seek to bring all the various moving parts together so that as we chart our way forward to ensure that we secure our water sector in Trinidad and Tobago, all the sectors that impact upon our water resource system will be pulled together to ensure that we manage our water in a sustainable way. The policy would soon be resubmitted, as I've said, Madam Speaker, to Cabinet in 1 month's time, and the intent is to unify the various initiatives related to water and provide a strong direction and vision for the effective management of the nation's water resource in an integrated and a sustainable manner. With respect to energy conservation and energy efficiency, Madam Speaker, we are in the final phase of completing this policy document to be also submitted to the Cabinet. And the potential benefits to be derived from a program include increased revenues to the state, higher productivity of petrochemical plants, expanded opportunities for investment and foreign exchange earnings, and reduced carbon dioxide emissions. A revised energy conservation and an energy efficiency policy and an action plan has been completed and will soon be tabled for the national community to examine. Madam President, we have also completed our National Integrated Solid Waste Management Policy. Solid waste management in Trinidad and Tobago is governed by several pieces of legislation, which are implemented and enforced by a multiplicity of government agencies, Madam President, and this has led to a fragmented system for managing the solid waste sector in Trinidad and Tobago. What we lack in Trinidad and Tobago is a single overarching entity with the necessary regulatory authority and a mandate to address all aspects of solid waste in Trinidad and Tobago and to ensure a coordinated approach to managing the sector that has led to the slow implementation of major policies relating to solid waste in Trinidad and Tobago. I have mandated a team from the Ministry of Public Utilities and SWIMCOL to review and to revise the policy to ensure a more holistic approach to solid waste management in Trinidad and Tobago, and that amended policy will also be submitted to Cabinet within the next month. The key benefits of implementing an integrated sustainable solid waste management in Trinidad and Tobago would be to align Trinidad and Tobago's solid waste management activities to meet national targets consistent with national policy, sustainable development goals, targets, as well as other regional and international environmental agreements to which the country is part of. Madam Speaker, we are also finalizing the beverage container bill. It's something that we have spoken to over the years. It's very important that we bring some kind of closure so that we can move forward with our beverage container deposit refund system. But one of the issues that have been impacting upon the progress of this beverage container bill, Madam President, is the very reason that I've explained a short while ago, that in Trinidad and Tobago, what we lack is a firm, coordinated approach with respect to solid waste management in Trinidad and Tobago. And what we will do in the National Integrated Solid Waste Management Policy is to ensure that SWIMCOL, which is the only state agency that is responsible for solid waste management in Trinidad and Tobago, will be clothed with all the necessary legislative power to be able to implement our beverage container bill and deposit refund system, as well as to address all other streams of waste in Trinidad and Tobago so that we can protect our environment and provide for a sustainable environmental future in Trinidad and Tobago. Madam President, we have also concluding our integrated resource and resilience plan. As a country, we have not been talking a lot about the future of our electricity sector in Trinidad and Tobago. We have relied heavily on hydrocarbon and our gas to produce electricity. But as the world is moving fast towards more renewable form of power and energy, we need to complete our integrated resource and resilience plan for Trinidad and Tobago. The Ministry of Public Utilities, I'm happy to say and to report to the national community, is heading a multi-sectoral team in the development of an integrated resource and a resilience plan for this country, for the power generation sector for the next 25 years. That plan, Madam President, once completed, will outline strategies and initiatives to safeguard current power distribution systems and to improve the resilience of the power sector in the face of climate change and natural or technological disasters. There are two main objectives of this integrated resource and resilience plan. Number one, it will determine how the power generation needs of the country over the next 25 years will be consistent with climate change mitigation. And number two, it will determine the most feasible power generation mix as the country transitions to a more sustainable and resilient energy sector. The transformation, Madam President, of the Water and Sewage Authority. Madam President, earlier this year, I had the opportunity to lay in the lower house a plan and a statement and a report into the operations of the Water and Sewage Authority. The Cabinet subcommittee that led the compilation of this report made certain findings and made certain recommendations to the government. The government did not take the recommendation and put it in a drawer and pat ourselves on the back and say that we have done our part. We laid this report in the Parliament and we signaled to the national community our determination to transform the Water and Sewage Authority so that every single citizen of this country can enjoy a sustainable water supply 24/7. The recommendations of the Cabinet Subcommittee as contained in that report are therefore to be read by every single member of this House and in the other place, as well as every single citizen. And coming out of the recommendations of that report, the government has indicated that it will put together a transformation plan for the Water and Sewerage Authority. I'm happy to report to you and to this House, Madam President, that the transformation plan is completed. The government will soon have in its possession a transformation plan, a new structure for the re-engineering of the Water and Sewerage Authority. I also wish to take the opportunity to inform every single employee of WASA, as well as all of the governing trade union bodies representing employees of WASA, that the Board of Commissioners, the Ministry of Public Utilities, and the Government of Trinidad and Tobago are all cognizant that we have to abide by the collective bargaining arrangements as being governed by a lot of the employees within the Water and Sewerage Authority. And as we seek to transform the organization, the government will comply and the Water and Sewerage Authority will comply with its responsibilities under the respective collective bargaining agreements of the workers and the unions representing WASA workers. There's absolutely nothing to be concerned about. This is something that is very important. The national community is very invested in the outcome of the transformation process because we are all impacted in some negative way with an unreliable supply of water, and therefore we must go about this very important task in a very responsible manner. Madam President, over the last 3 months, we have undertaken a series of projects under a program that we refer to as the Community Water Improvement Program in the Ministry of Public Utilities. Madam President, this program has given me great joy as minister because what we have done is that we have identified 21 projects or 21 communities for short-term interventions where a number of those communities are getting water supply 2 days a week or less. And we have undertaken a number of projects into those communities. And within that short period of time, Madam President, a number of communities across Trinidad and Tobago are already experiencing an improvement in their water supply. We recently commissioned the Pitch Road Booster Station in Mova. That booster station was in a derelict state, Madam President. And with the recommissioning and the rehabilitation of that booster station, 17,000 residents of Pitch Road in Mova are now experiencing an improvement in their water supply. The initial cost of this project was pegged at $3 million. I'm happy to report to you, Madam President, it came in at a cost of $1.2 million, way under budget. And the people of Pitch Road and Mova and Mari Road and Never Dirty, who have not experienced a supply of water over the last 15 years, are now being very happy that water is now flowing through their taps and that they can live comfortably as decent citizens. But we are not ending there. We are going to turn on projects in Chamflair. In Chamflair, we are going to be moving to Tamana, into Manzanilla. We have already turned on some additional wells in Freeport, in Mayaro, and I can tell you, thousands of citizens under this program are experiencing an improvement in their supply of water by some of these short-term interventions. And very soon I'm going to roll out a number of other communities, a list of other communities where these interventions would be initiated. Because we have recognized, Madam President, that whilst we transform the Water and Sewerage Authority over the next 2 to 3 years, the people of this country, transformation would only mean when water can flow through their taps and that they can get access to water. All the other complex issues, the HR issues, the technological issues, etc., ought to be undertaken. But we are cognizant of the fact that whilst we do so, we have to undertake a series of interventions across Trinidad and Tobago to provide the people of Trinidad and Tobago with an efficient water supply. I'm very happy with the workers in the Water and Sewerage Authority, many of whom worked overtime, late at night, on weekends, and did not claim 1 hour in overtime because they have demonstrated their commitment to this work. And all that was required was a sense of humility and leadership. and they are working all across Trinidad and Tobago to provide this country with an efficient water supply, and I congratulate them for what they are doing. Madam President, communities like Karapichaima in Freeport, in San Rafael, in Talparo, Manzanilla, Mova, Clark Road in Ramjatan Trace in Penal, in Cameron Road in Maraval, La Romaine, they are all beneficiaries. And within the next financial year, 2022, we have identified a couple of communities in Tobago as well as in Trinidad where these interventions will be made and those communities will start seeing an improvement in their water supply. Those are some of the short-term measures, Madam President. As part of our medium-term to long-term, the Ministry of Public Utilities has already embarked upon a National Water Stabilization and Improvement Program, and that National Water Stabilization and Improvement Program is a collaboration, has developed and begun the implementation of this program, and the first phase has already started. And the intention of that program, Madam President, is that we have recognized that a number of water disruptions taking place across Trinidad and Tobago is not as a result of a lack of water, but because of the state of WASA's infrastructure that has been so prone to disruption on a regular basis. So what we have done under this program, we have identified wells for rehabilitation and development, construction of upgrades of intakes throughout the country, plant refurbishment, operational systems improvements, critical equipment and acquisition, and we have already identified areas in Tucker Valley, in the Savannah Wells, in Aripo, Sangre Grande, Central Trinidad, South Trinidad and Tobago to improve our water production capacity at a minimum of 20 imperial million gallons of water per day so that we can reduce our reliance on expensive desalinated water and to provide every community with a reliable supply of water with at least 4 days in the interim or the short to medium term. And as we seek to continue to roll out our rehabilitation of our water infrastructure, optimization of the network across Trinidad and Tobago, and getting additional water into the grid all across the island, communities all across the island, will start seeing a more reliable supply of water. And I can give the assurance that communities like Sangre Grande, Arima, Dabadi, Aruca, Diego Martin, North Manzanilla, in Camuto, Manzanilla, Chagaramas or Chaguanas, Carlson Field, Las Lomas, Penal, Princestown, Cedras, Siparia, Point Fortin, Tobago, Chatham, Icacas, they all will be beneficiary of our National Water Stabilization and Improvement Program. Madam President, I'm happy to also report that we recognize that we have to transition our energy sector to renewable energy. The world is changing around us. Climate change is impacting upon us, and therefore we need to examine how we produce electricity to have a blend of hydrocarbon from gas as well as solar and wind. In that regard, Trinidad and Tobago, along with the rest of the world, is moving towards the use of greener and more sustainable methods of energy generation in Trinidad and Tobago. The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission is working in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Utilities to develop a wind resource assessment project and a wind feasibility study to determine potential wind generation power in Trinidad and Tobago. The Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency has offered technical assistance in this initiative, and talks are underway. The Commission has made a request to the Commissioner of State Lands, and those tests will be done in Matura, in Fishing Pond, North Manzanilla, Coromandel Settlement, Cedras, Brickfield Road and Orangefield Road, Karapichaima. After these initial wind studies have been completed, it is proposed to conduct additional wind feasibility in Tobago. With the impending introduction of this solar PV expected to complement traditional generations, harnessing of wind renewable energy will lead to the diversification of a renewable energy mix for the power generation sector in Trinidad and Tobago. And I look forward, Madam President, to this. I have a very young team, a passionate team in the Ministry of Public Utilities, pushing solar electricity, and that's the reason why we have concluded a contractual discussion to construct the Light Source BP 112 megawatts of solar electricity. And with that, this will be complemented by other studies and projects where we can have a more healthy blend of renewable energy and hydrocarbon energy for the electricity sector in Trinidad and Tobago. With respect to with the government's plan for electric vehicles in Trinidad and Tobago, the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission, in partnership with the National Carnival Commission and Masdar Clean Energy from Abu Dhabi, will install a vehicle charging stations powered by a grid-connected polar PV system, all located at a new car park near the Grandstand Queen's Park, Savannah. And this project is being funded through an agreement with the Masdar United Arab Emirates and the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries. The plant will be owned and operated by TNTEC with the National Carnival Commission as landlord. With respect to the telecommunications sector, Madam President, I must say that I'm very happy with the strides being made by TSTT to ensure a robust system to continue to provide telecommunication services in Trinidad and Tobago. During this pandemic, TSTT expended in excess of $25 million on networks and initiatives to provide internet access through various health institutions providing care to COVID-19. In addition to that, they have also provided free mobile services to frontline healthcare workers, free broadband service to several step-down facilities managed by the Ministry of Health. They offered zero cost on Google Suite for 90 days to TSTT enterprise customers in conjunction with Google, and a host of other support across the telecommunications sector. And I wish to thank the management and the staff of TSTT for this initiative. TSTT continued its investment in customer-enabling platforms that facilitated online billing and upgraded provisioning platform. This has resulted in customer service requests being provisioned with shorter time frames, in some cases for wireless access service within 24 hours. The rollout and expansion of the various wireless network and the technologies utilizing long-demanded spectrum assets has meant that TSTT has laid the foundational infrastructure for digital transformation with its ubiquitous mobile 4G LTE network.
Minister, you have 5 more minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And a fixed wireless network and a fiber network along Trinidad and Tobago's 95% coverage for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. With respect to solid waste management, Madam President, I'm also happy to report to the national community that all the studies with respect to an engineered sanitary landfill at Forest Park are almost completed. The following components of the projects have been completed. It's a topographic and hydrographic surveys, draft cadastral survey, geotechnical study, a groundwater studies, and the traffic flow analysis is close to completion. And one study, which is a waste characterization study, will be completed within the next month. And once that is completed, the Solid Waste Management Company of Trinidad and Tobago will begin the construction of a brand new state-of-the-art engineered sanitary landfill in Forest Park in Trinidad and Tobago, thereby decommissioning the landfill at Beetham and Guanapo. Madam President, over the last month, an MOU was also signed with NGC and SWIMCALL to facilitate the exploration of opportunities for capturing and utilizing methane gas from the Forest Park landfill. And this is expected to progress Trinidad and Tobago's commitment to the reduction of greenhouse gases under the Paris Agreement. With respect to the postal services, Madam President, I wish to let you know that TT Post has completed its address standard and postal system, as well as the installation of a track and trace parcel delivery system. I have mandated TT Post, as well as all the other public utilities companies under my remit, that as government revenue continue to dwindle, each public utility company must explore avenues and explore ways in order to become financially sustainable. And as we move towards a digitalized society, a number of revenue opportunities will be given and will be inherited by TT Post by collaborating with other government agencies, by offering a number of services so that it can become financially sustainable, as the Swim Call, WASA, and the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission. But on the last point, Madam President, I know my time is inching closer. I wish to comment on the rate review in Trinidad and Tobago. The government, well, first to begin, let me say that rate reviews in Trinidad and Tobago is not the remit of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The RIC is the only agency and an independent commission that has the power to review rates for electricity and water. In December the 8th, 2020, the RIC has put forward an advertisement in the national newspapers where they've indicated that the rate review process has started. We await the outcome of that. Both TNTEC and WASA have completed their business plans in order to be submitted to the RIC. The RIC will undertake its work, it will communicate with the national population, it will do its studies, etc. And at the end of the day, at the end of its process, it will make a recommendation with respect to rate reviews for WASA and for TNTEC to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And the government will determine what subsidy arrangement will be put in place to protect the poor, the vulnerable, and the disadvantaged groups in our society as we move forward. The government has indicated it has increased the rebate system under TNTEC from 25% to 35%. It will also introduce a cash card system to protect those groups as we move towards a more marketable and a more realistic rates for water and electricity. I think, Madam President, that both utility companies are badly in need of a rate review, because if we are talking about independence and financial sustainability, their rates must be in alignment with current market trends so that they can raise their revenue to take care of their circumstances so that they can provide the people of Trinidad and Tobago with modern utility services. Madam President, I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank members on both sides for this opportunity so that I can come and report to the national community on what is taking place in the utility sector in Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you very much.
Senator Thompson-Aye.
Madam President, thank you for allowing me to join this debate on the 2022 budget statement. The Honorable Minister of Finance has received more compliments than curses, fewer kicks than kisses since presenting this budget. For the last 2 weeks, he has been beaming with joy and pride rather than scowling in anger. He cannot be accused of being short of ideas in this budget that has been given what I consider a provocative title, Resilience in the Face of a Global Pandemic. Resilience means the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, and one would therefore expect and be justified in thinking that the Honorable Minister has charted for us a roadmap for quick recovery from the quagmire of the pandemic that from March 2020 had our economy sinking even faster. If I may borrow the Honorable Finance Minister's words, the plummeting oil and gas prices. I must confess to some hesitancy, though, not of the vaccine variety, in borrowing the Honorable Minister's words. I do not always agree with him. For example, when he starts off the debate stating that the Rowley administration first won a convincing mandate on September 7, 2015, and that this initial mandate was reaffirmed 5 years later on August 10, 2020, I couldn't help but wonder if his understanding of the meaning of convincing accorded with mine. As I recall, in 2015, the results were 23-18 in the PNM favor, and in 2020, it was 22-19. The government has had time and time again to water down bills to have them passed with a simple majority. Had the mandate been as convincing as the minister would have us believe, that would not have been necessary. But this government did win a mandate to govern and has been doing so. How well have we been served? That's a matter for debate. In presenting a budget, you must tell the populace not only your plans for future governance and how you will execute the responsibility that has been entrusted to you, but you must also give an account of your stewardship. We expect you to come to us, J in us face, one looking backward, one looking forward, for the electorate to judge your credibility and determine whether we should have faith in your promises once again. You fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. Some of the achievements of the government are obvious. None so blind as those who will not see the improvements in the condition of some of the roads. There are still gaping potholes, but we must admit that driving along the east-west corridor, as I do daily, is much less frustrating than it was before. You now get to work feeling less tired and with your nerves less frayed. Traffic is moving much more quickly along the east-west corridor, at times more swiftly than the priority bus route pass. So you don't need a pass, the minister informs me. And I agree. Madam President, it is now a pleasant sight to enter Mover Junction from the Eastern Main Road on your way to the Lady Young Road. It's a good advertisement for government working for you. The Minister of Works must be justly proud, and I observe he is more confident in his speech than when he first entered Parliament. Some achievements of some ministries are not so readily discernible. Madam President, this is only when I was invited by a member of the government of Pakistan to present at a virtual seminar on the South-South Initiative, of which I knew nothing, and sought a brief from the Ministry of Trade and Industry that I discovered how much work had been done at that ministry. I had heard nothing, about it before, but I had heard the minister being vilified and many unkind things said about her and written because her light has been hidden under a bushel. Millions of dollars in trade have come into our nation's coffers through the work of that ministry. I know the ministry's plans to establish a trade and investment promotion agency to facilitate the restructuring of the country's trade and investment in accordance with best practices. We still have some way to go with regard to the ease of doing business, but at least the Joint Select Committee on Finance and Legal Affairs, which I have the honor to chair, has identified areas of concern and is for the responsible agencies to move with dispatch to fix the problems. The Minister of Health has been indefatigable. I wish to personally thank him for all that he has done for the nation's health. He didn't sign up for this, Mr. COVID came knocking at our door in 2020. And though we tried our utmost to keep him out, Mr. COVID barged in. He took up residence. He permanently evicted from their home 1,600 of my fellow men and women. And now he has invited his Delta cousins. As we continue to battle the real enemy of this country, I thank the stalwarts of the Health Ministry for their sterling service. Madam President, there's a fresh wind blowing in the corridors of the Ministry of Public Utilities. It seems that this young minister is unafraid to tackle the problems at WASA and other entities under his jurisdiction. It appears he has also encouraged his workers to apologize when utility services fail to the detriment of long-suffering consumers. Last week, Sunday, shortly after I had put 3 dishes into the oven, the electricity supply failed. I was livid. If I was so inclined, I would have uttered an expletive, similar to what I have to endure every morning from 2 popular radio hosts who are oblivious to the fact that the children are listening. I was considering going to Plan B, using the stovetop, when mercifully electricity returned. Shortly thereafter, I heard someone on a loudspeaker apologizing to the people in my neighborhood for the inconvenience we had suffered. I really appreciated that courtesy and thoughtfulness. Now, I can't say the same with TSCT. It is a source of much frustration, and I can well understand why a former prime minister wanted to throw his telephone in the Gulf of Paria. Because with these last few months, I really think that we have not been served well by TSTT and the internet providers, BM Mobile. Madam President, it is not only on the airwaves that we encounter intemperate language. There is an escalation in the verbal warfare everywhere, in the streets, on platforms, various podiums, and in social media. This budget charts the way forward, not only with fiscal and infrastructural measures, but it's also about building a society and a people. As we look forward to the future, we must be careful to ensure that the tenor of our public discourse does not evidence blatant disrespect for our leaders and cherished institutions. Shakespeare is as relevant today as yesterday when he had Michael Anthony say, "Judgment has fled to brutish beasts and men have lost their reason." It would be a supreme irony if, under the guise of seeking to uphold and preserve our sacred institutions, we desecrate and destroy those very institutions. The prophet Isaiah said, "What perversity is this? These people approach me only in words, honors me only with lip service, while their hearts are far from me." Isaiah hoped erring spirits will learn wisdom and murmurers accept instruction. I pray to have Isaiah's faith. Property tax. Madam President, on July 5, 2021, the Government Information Service, Barbados Government Information Service, issued a notice from their Revenue Authority. It indicated that it has started issuing the land tax bills for the financial year 2021 to 2022. Property owners were reminded that electronic payment channels were available for paying the land tax. Persons were encouraged to make use of the digital options which offer convenience rather than standing in a queue. The notice advised of options for local, online, and over-counter payments, payments by check and by overseas owners. It gave the date for payments and advised of a 10% discount if payment were made in full within 30 days of the due date, and 5% discount if made within 60 days of this date, after which the principal amount was payable. Having read this notice, I called a Trinidadian friend of mine living in Barbados, and I asked her, what is the reaction of the people there? In fact, all of us have a pandemic, what's happening? She said there was no reaction. She added that she was appalled at the behavior of people in Trinidad and Tobago and could not understand the reason they didn't want to pay property tax. Didn't they understand that government needed revenue to run the country, to build roads, to maintain the healthcare system, to pay salaries of public servants, and for the many services they provided? She said as a pensioner, she was given, I think, a 50% rebate in the property tax, and she had a property in Trinidad, and she wanted to pay her tax on that property here. I called a Jamaican friend of mine, and I asked him the same question. I got a similar response. No protest here, he said, and he added, you Trinis are set to lawless people. Well, I cut the conversation short. I called friends in Guyana and found no protest there either. Madam President, this property tax has been a political football being kicked down the road by successive governments, neither of which wanted to score a goal for this country, but to win votes from the electorate. The day of reckoning is here. If the government were to announce Carnival were to be held in 2022, Madam President, as in 1972, some of the very people who claim they cannot pay property tax, they will start to jump around. They will fall down on the ground. They will be in all the all-inclusive and other feds. My colleague, who sits at my right hand, tells me if the Valley Naga is held, people will come and spend what they don't have. I suggest we follow the example of Barbados, encourage people to be compliant by offering concessions for early payment of property tax and for special cases of need. There is never going to be a right time for this tax. Government, however, must ensure that the tax calculation is fair and equitable. I said previously in this parliament that I had discovered that a former high government official living in an upper-scale Port of Spain suburb was paying less property tax than I was. I was shocked and I protested. I asked him how that could be. He laughed and he said to me, the mayor dare not interfere with that. Was it Prime Minister Chambers who spoke of a wrong that needs to be put right? Well, that is an injustice that needs urgent attention. I am watching and I am waiting. I'm firmly of the view, though, that the money received from the property tax must be made available to the regional corporation, the city to attend to the needs of burgesses. Perhaps we may see the return of the comfort patrols that were unceremoniously removed from our neighborhoods. I turn now to some areas of interest in the executive summary to the Social Sector Investment Program 2022. This document states that it examines the social setting of Trinidad and Tobago and highlights all progress made towards attaining social transformation and development. Theme 1, putting people first, nurturing our greatest asset. Goal 4 reads, the foundation of Trinidad and Tobago will be strong families and safe, sustainable communities. Under this head, reference is made to the National Child Policy 2020-2030, hereafter the NCP, which was laid as a white paper in Parliament in November 2020 by the Office of the Prime Minister. The NCP stated that, and I'm quoting from the document, that it was vital in providing long-term guidance and sets the framework to support suitable legislation, intervention, and infrastructure that would further ensure the well-being of each children. Each children? Nobody proofread this report for grammatical errors. I will have more to say later on the decline or death of English grammar in Trinidad and Tobago. It causes some of us much despair and shame to listen or read views publicly expressed by officials and ordinary citizens on television, radio, in newspapers, in person. Bad grammar, malapropisms abound. Continuing on the Social Sector Investment Program, the NCP discusses the age of criminal responsibility. In Annex 1 in its National Implementation Plan, including among its strategies and projects, it says review the age of criminal responsibility and enhance the provision of legal representation for children. Among its major activities for strategies and projects, it lists revise the Children Act to increase the age of criminal responsibility to 12. Now, the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, the body of experts to whom each country reports on the progress they have made on implementing the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the CRC, has repeatedly called on Trinidad and Tobago to harmonize our national laws with the CRC. In 1996, in paragraph 29 of our initial report to the committee, the government of Trinidad and Tobago stated, under criminal liability, the age below which a child is conclusively presumed to be unable to commit an offense is 7 years under the common law. However, legislation raising the age of criminal responsibility is either 10 or 12 is being considered. 1996. When I read this, an old calypso came to mind. Pass by, mama guy, but don't buy. If you want, you could even wave bye-bye, but don't buy. That was the Bata shoe store strike. I date myself. In 2006, 10 years after, the committee again expressed its concern regarding our low age of criminal responsibility and urged that Trinidad and Tobago raise the age of criminal responsibility to an internationally acceptable standard. The CRC does not set a specific age. It simply urges state parties to establish a minimum age below which children shall be presumed not to have the capacity to infringe the penal law. But the Beijing rules, which is the standard minimum rules for the administration of juvenile justice, gives guidance. And it states that the beginning of that age shall not be fixed at too low an age level, bearing in mind the facts of emotional, mental, and intellectual maturity. In 2007, though, the same Committee on the Rights of the Child, having reviewed reports from all over the world, issued a general comment titled Children's Rights in Juvenile Justice. And it was designed to guide state parties to bring their laws in conformity with the CRC. And it recommended age 12 as the absolute minimum age. That was in 2007. But in 2000, we sat down there in the descending darkness of Holiday Inn, it was then called, and we formulated a document called the Caribbean 2000 Consensus on Juvenile Justice. And we came up with the age of 12. And we felt really proud to see that what we did 7 years before, the international community was now doing. Some countries like Belize, Dominica, St. Lucia were already there. Soon you have other countries like Jamaica in 2005, Grenada, St. Vincent, Grenadines, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Barbados at age 12, moving towards, they have a draft for age, they are 10, the 11, moving to 12, Bahamas at age 10. Guyana changes law to age 14 with certain stipulation, and even the judiciary confused about what was Guyana's intention. In 2019, the committee, having been informed by the latest research in neuroscience, which showed that brain maturation occurs around 25 and that teenagers and young adults are very susceptible to peer pressure, revised the internationally acceptable minimum age to 14 years. So the committee is now recommending that children below the age of criminal response who commit offenses cannot be charged should be considered on a case-by-case basis by the appropriate civil or administrative authorities. Maintaining an age of 7 is really a disgrace. The earlier a child is exposed to the child justice system, the greater the likelihood of reoffending and the lesser his chances of rehabilitation and reintegration. The National Child Policy talks about revising the Legal Aid and Advisory Act, and really it is the Legal Aid and Advice Act, to include legal representation for motor vehicle offenses and establishing the Children Public Defender Unit and so on, and duty counsel. And we have actually moved and amended the Act to include duty counsel, and that is working extremely well, and I'm very, very happy. So children's right to legal representation, their right to be heard, that is now being covered, whether you look at the best interest of the child or the voice of the child, by not only duty counsel, private attorneys who act in that role, but the Solicitor General's office. So I come now to community mediation. Under Goal 4, reference is made to promoting safe communities through the provision of community mediation services. Community mediation promotes environments that encourage individuals to resolve disputes through the provision of civil and family mediation services. Now, all of this is in the document, conducted by certified mediators. Such services reduce the incidences of family and community conflict and the subsequent escalation of violence in communities, while simultaneously equipping individuals with the skills and aptitudes necessary to enhance the family and community ability to manage conflict positively. Madam President, I'm informed that the term of office of members of the Mediation Board expired since about February this year. A new mediation board has not been named. No new mediators are being certified. There are people anxiously waiting for this board to be put in place so the number of available mediators can be expanded to have a large cohort of mediators to perform this important function in a society where family conflict is escalating with fatal consequences. The stated recognition of the value of mediation services to the restoration of peace and harmony in the community is inconsistent with the lack of urgency displayed in appointing a new mediation board. Now, in 2020, I understand that the community development portfolio was transferred from a disbanded Ministry of Community Development, Culture and the Arts to a new ministry, Sport and Community Development. So mediation now comes under the Community Mediation Services Division of that new ministry. And it is proposed to expand the implementation of a distance learning model segment for its community training programs. Given the nature of the activities, though, that they're going to be engaged in, it is hoped that the ministry will revert to interactive in-person sessions at the earliest opportunity. Goal 5, Trinidad and Tobago will have a seamless, reformed, high-quality education and training system. What a goal. Our education system has been subjected to challenges as never before. This pandemic put the system into disarray with some of our children suffering unprecedented hardship. The online learning used to teach children exposed to public view the inequities in the society. There are still thousands of students without devices. Although the corporate sector, the government, and many private citizens provide the students with laptops and other devices, students suffer and continue to suffer from not being able to access education. Internet services may be unavailable where they live. I am anxiously awaiting the return to school for all our children. I urge the continued encouragement to achieve herd immunity, to continue to be vaccinated. Parents, I can only appeal, do what you must for your children in the best interest of the children. The high-quality education is an elusive dream for many of our citizens. The Ministry of Education for yet another year has received the highest allocation, the biggest slice in the shrinking pie, but there's much to be desired in terms of the standard of literacy in Trinidad and Tobago. For years, I bought into the narrative of this high literacy rate that we have until I went to a Joint Select Committee meeting, Human Rights Diversity, and I heard Alta, and they gave me their 20-year report, and I realized that adult literacy is half of it. Half of the touted figure is closer to the truth. As a former primary school teacher, what was the common entrance B class? I'm shocked at the level of literacy. Members of my B class didn't make the kind of mistake I witness on a daily basis. What has gone wrong? My pupils knew the rules about singular subject, singular verb, prepositions governing the objective case. They had an appreciation of and knew the difference in uses such as oppose, each as opposed to every, between and among. They would say as regards and with regard to, composed of or comprises. Up to last night on the news, I heard less babies dying. And how many people didn't realize that it should have been fewer? My pupils knew a centurion was a soldier in charge of 100 men, and a centenarian was one who had attained the age of 100. So many people don't know that. I once had to send a quick email to a TV station to remove a ticker tape congratulating a centurion, the man achieved 100 years. I pointed out years ago in the prayer that Ken Gordon says on TV6 every morning that there was an error, and I was told it would cost too much to correct it. I asked my friend who trained teachers what was happening in education. She said the education standard pupil teachers that enter UTT was nothing like in the old days. They attain a Bachelor of Education degree, we got a teacher's diploma, but the standard is so low. She said teachers are not well paid, so we don't get the best and the brightest. And it was impossible to do remedial work in the time that they had to train the teachers. I taught law students in 2 regional law schools. The deficiency I observed in language among some of the Trinidad and Tobago students, I did not detect in the students from the Eastern Caribbean, Barbados, or Guyana, but I encountered it in the Bahamas. While there, I designed a remedial course in English, which took them back to basic agreement of subject and verb, singular and plural, use of relative programs. On my way to class one day, 2 students stopped me. Miss Ai, who is the prettiest? I told them I would answer the question when we got upstairs. That day, the lesson was on comparison of adjectives. So when we reached pretty are prettiest, they smiled. One of my colleagues sought to admonish me. He said, that teaching basic thing, that too simple. I asked the students what they thought. They said, Miss I, we need it. I told them there was once a judge called Justice Desile, and he would quarrel with any lawyer who had bad grammar in an affidavit or any pleadings before the court. He was one of my favorite judges, and I want him to rest in peace and not be turning in his grave. Madam President, I want to know if we move from British English to American English, including spelling. I am working on signs which tell me to practice social distancing, and the word practice spelled with a C. I learned to use C for the noun and S for the verb. We go on American now, just tell me. Article 28 of the CRC speaks about the important aim of education, the development of the child's personality, talents, mental and physical ability to their fullest potential. Each child is unique with God-given talent that we must draw out and develop. We put children in a mold and we try to fashion them in our image and likeness, not that of the Lord. Many want their children to have a grammar school education, even when not inclined that way. I welcome plans to restructure and reopen the youth camps. When we started the task force to look at child protection, we visited the camps and we saw those boys hanging around with nothing to do, the tutors, and the tutors said, long ago, people used to come and ask me about the boys that we had trained and they would get good jobs. I wish the Honorable Minister Foster Cummings well in his new ministry. He has the opportunity to make a difference, and I know his enthusiasm is boundless. Our children have talent in sports and culture that are not being harnessed. I have seen children who apparently could not learn, and they have put on such a performance for me, just by doing improvisations, that for the first time in their lives, they got appreciation from their classmates. Many lives are lost literally, while those displaced children do not have transition homes. They leave the community's institution at age 18. They have nowhere to go, save into a life of crime and sexual exploitation. So please, hurry up with those transition homes. Children with disabilities, we have ratified the convention. Then what? Do we give them the attention they deserve? How much of the education budget is used for autistic children? So many parents I know paying what they can't afford to give the children a variety of therapeutic intervention so they can have a fighting chance in life. How are children treated at school? We abolish corporal punishment. But have we abolished the harsh words, the insults, the humiliation suffered at the hands of teachers? What have we done for those children? Why can't we have people who only love children and those who don't be banished from the system? The Tranquility Rant is not an isolated case. What happened to that teacher? Is it still before this Teaching Service Commission? These emotional hurts inflicted by teachers are hardly ever forgotten, and children carry them around for years. I want to share a message from a 63-year-old man. He's well known in this country. I'll tell you his name at the end. He started writing me in May 2019. Sometimes 5 times a day I'll get a WhatsApp. Blessing and grace to you, Honorable Hazel, and your family and your efforts and your work in Parliament meeting, interaction and teaching. You are my prayers and best wishes. God bless you. On my birthday on April 25, I received this WhatsApp from him. I had a teacher who actually said, you'll be nothing in life. Others said you could only make noise and only pounding on the desk. Others say you can't understand in class, you're failing the exam. Others say you cheat, you're always copying. Your ways, he couldn't see the blackboard. Years later, he was tested and found he had poor eyesight, vision, and should have been wearing glasses from small. He said he got plenty licks in school and detention, punishment. He said they beat me. How ironic. I bless and I thank dear beloved, creative, humble, faithful dad. He saw more in me and guided me and tried with me when I cried and nurtured, encouraging my creativity, my drumming and faith and spirituality, love and service to God. Only with God I survive and came through glad but sad. I pray this helps in some way someone. God bless you from the noisemaker, good for nothing, mischief, troublemaker, lonely, weird, dreamer, drummer, or God humble, honored to be in deep prayer and reflection and appreciation and affirmation of the rhythm of the Lord's love and joy and peace and his Holy Spirit, wisdom, direction that saved my life and love of rhythm of love and message and praise. I got my last WhatsApp from him on October 7 from the ICU. He said that he was weak. He couldn't breathe or talk. His prayer-filled blessings and appreciation to all. Not sure when you would see this. Thanks again for so much you have been to me. God bless you. His name was Peter Telfer. He died last Friday, October 15, 2021. He was a gift to this nation that the education system almost destroyed. But he had a parent to rescue him. We have a society who will vilify and condemn and speak failure into children's lives. We get $1 million, to get $1 million corporation, we can get them to contribute hundreds of thousands of dollars to Soca Monarch, Marshall Monday, Catch Tuesday, Iowa Wednesday, what have you, to pay for a training program costing hundreds of dollars that will benefit the upliftment of our youth is like pulling teeth. Many children enter the child justice system. They graduate to the adult criminal law system. You can put all the laws in place, all the plans, all the machinery, all the people in the process, but people must be central to the system. I have a particular concern about child justice. Recently, we convicted 2 persons who had been charged with a heinous crime, the murder of an innocent child. They were children when they were charged. The case was concluded 15 years after the crime had been committed and the children arrested. Every step of the way, we came to the imposition of before we came to the imposition of the ultimate penalty, the crime overshadowed the child. So many principles and practices were violated, and I wish to remind the media that the child's right to privacy continues even after the child has become an adult, once the crime was committed when it was a child. So that the newspaper that published the convicted, the faces of the men violated their rights. 15 years. Are we serious? We have new laws on child justice, innovative practices, and new children court, millions of dollars being sent. But the belly of the system is exposed by cases like this. The DNA lab, not in operation for years, I understand it's working now. I spoke in the Parliament a few years ago about samples not being able to go forward. You know, Madam President, I advised some time ago about scholarship for training in forensic pathology being offered to our citizens. The Trinidad and Tobago Forensic Sciences Center was established in 1983 and has been staffed by professionals trained in forensic medicine rather than forensic pathology. Mortuary attendants have to struggle to get paid on time and are temporary despite permanent positions being available. About 500 murders a year, and we cannot handle it. When Mr. Chatu was TT High Commissioner, he was informed of a 1-year fellowship in forensic pathology being offered by any graduate in the post-residency program in anatomical pathology at UA Mona for persons desirous of pursuing subspecialty. 3 from Jamaica took up the scholarship, 1 from the Bahamas. No national from Trinidad has benefited from this streaming. So to claim the subspecialty as a forensic pathologist, as recognized in the UK, US, Canada, and most countries, one must have been trained and certified in anatomical pathology. A forensic pathologist is specifically trained to deal with medical legal postmortems. The last one we had here resigned last February, emigrated, and now lives in Michigan. The soothsayers and Julius Caesar said, beware the Ides of March. I say, remember Brad Boyce. Be careful when we speak with accuracy that can stand up to scrutiny. I will be happy to be wrong when I say we do not have forensic pathologists on board in this country, but I fear I am correct. We have the opportunity to build a new Trinidad and Tobago. We are a loving people, a gifted people. Our talents abound, but we are not an equitable society. Some are more equal than others. Some want not only the whole pie, but to break the dish so no others can bake too. We need to have some honest conversations around the issues of race, color, class, and creed. We need respect and a whole new understanding of what it is to love our country and our fellow men. Madam President, I thank you.
Minister of Social Development and Family Services.
Thank you, Madam President. It is indeed a privilege not only to add my voice to the growing chorus of persons who have expressed their support for the measures outlined in the 2021 budget, but to account to the nation as well for my stewardship in the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. Allow me, though, to congratulate the Honorable Minister of Finance for presenting an appropriation bill that touch on the salient points of this country's drive towards economic growth, while staying true to our government's desire to ensure that no one is left behind. It is indeed a budget for everyone. I also commend the Honorable Prime Minister for his astute leadership and for facilitating the measures outlined in the budget, especially on behalf of the vulnerable people of Trinidad and Tobago. Madam President, every day I receive emails, WhatsApp messages, phone calls about the provisions made for the vulnerable in the budget. People are saying how happy they are about the measures outlined in the budget that take care of those who are experiencing tough times. In this regard, we are very pleased to announce that the government has not reduced the dollar value of a single grant disbursed by the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, thus ensuring that every single person who meets the criteria for a grant will continue to receive it, as they have in the past, and in the same amount and on time. I am extremely pleased to inform this House that notwithstanding our challenging economic circumstances, the government has maintained its commitment to the vulnerable population of Trinidad and Tobago. Because we are hearing some persons saying that the budget is not for poor persons. So I will outline some of the money spent in this budget, which is catered to the vulnerable. At the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, we remain committed to providing the necessary support to the people of Trinidad and Tobago as we seek to strengthen the safety net for the vulnerable and take our country forward through a path to full recovery. In other words, we are keeping faith with the people of Trinidad and Tobago, so much so that up to September the 30th, 2021, I can report to this House the following. Our food support program, also known as the food card or debit card, provided support to 31,547 persons at a cost of $173,551,740. The general assistance grants helped 1,057 citizens or residents with household items valued at $5,429,184.36. An additional $407,150 went to those in need of rental assistance. The public assistance grant provided financial aid to 18,938 persons whose existing household incomes were deemed inadequate. And these persons benefited from grants amounting to $335,692,321. The Senior Citizens Pension provided financial assistance to 109,004 persons aged 65 and over who met the qualifying criteria at a cost of $353,296,000. We remain committed to ensuring the well-being of our older persons. And in terms of the Disability Assistance Grant, Madam President, 22,933 persons received grants amounting to $575,223,930. And this also included disability grants for minors. Under the National Social Development Program for fiscal 2021, $969,000 was distributed to 61 families to complete minor house repairs. 21 beneficiaries received $236,000 to upgrade their sanitary plumbing, and $274,000 was provided to 28 recipients for house wiring. With regards to the VAT removal on 45 basic food items, the expansion of the list of basic food items that will be exempted from VAT from the 1st of November will ensure that many of our families will be in a better position to afford more nutritious meals. Madam President, the efforts of the government on behalf of citizens are being fully recognized even in the public domain, and the removal of VAT on most basic food items has been noted by the Supermarkets Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Its president, Mr. Rajiv Dipti, remarked that VAT removal will save customers money, and I quote, "Removing the VAT from these items is removing 12.5% from your bill," end of quote. And this is taken from the Daily Express, the 7th of October. And these sentiments were also echoed by a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, a letter to the editor on Friday, 8th of October, the Trinidad Guardian. And this writer indicated that it was a brilliant and welcomed budget presented by the government to reignite productivity while enhancing the lives of all as best as humanly possible, demonstrating, Madam President, that the man in the street recognizes what the government is doing and supports these initiatives. The removal of VAT and customs duties on identified devices, equipment, and peripherals utilized by persons with disabilities, making these items more affordable, will leave extra cash in the pockets of 52,000 persons with disabilities who are expected to benefit from this initiative. And in response to this measure, the Executive Officer of the Blind Welfare Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Kenneth Surratt, stated, and I quote, "I'm seeing it's going to benefit our community, not only the blind, but walkers, wheelchairs, hearing aids, so many things for the disabled. I'm very pleased with what the government has done from that aspect to remove taxes for special devices we could use." And this is taken from Newsday, Wednesday, October the 6th. These and other measures announced by the Minister of Finance demonstrate that this government cares about our vulnerable citizens and remain committed to their well-being. The ministry is placing all of its resources into helping, empowering, and transforming the lives of our most vulnerable, family by family. And it is precisely in this context, Madam President, that I wish to contextualize the critical role being played by the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services in ensuring that those who are most marginalized, those who are most deserving, those who are the most economically and socially vulnerable in our society are in receipt of goods and services, which will not only impact significantly on their daily lives, but ultimately move them to a place of empowerment and self-sufficiency. And we have identified the most vulnerable segments of the population amongst us as our senior citizens, at-risk youths, persons with disabilities, persons living with HIV/AIDS, street dwellers, single parents, single-income households, widows, and those families now placed on the poverty line due to COVID-19. More focus is being placed on identifying those who are in need of our support, and we are working closer with non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and other ministries, agencies, and private entities to fulfill the needs of the vulnerable. Madam President, we know that the outcome of all the initiatives identified earlier will be the immediate alleviation of the economic challenges being experienced by some of our citizens. In other words, they will be able to put food on the table for their children. But we know that we cannot stop there. We intend to do more. We are also laying the groundwork for their future prosperity so that they will become more resilient and will be able to stand on their own 2 feet. To do this, we must gently but steadily wean them off government assistance, each according to his capacity, helping them to become more stronger, more independent, and more dignified. And we know that for some persons, their current situation and circumstances are temporary. They are going through a bad patch or a bad season because they lost their job or may be ill or the breadwinner of the family passed away, but they will bounce back with some help. These require some funding and psychosocial support to get back on their feet. And these are the persons that the ministry has been assisting over the past fiscal year. The Sowing Empowerment through Entrepreneurial Development Program, administered as part of our National Social Development Program, is especially targeted to vulnerable citizens who dream of starting or improving their own business, but are unable to gain access to traditional sources of funding. They may not have the necessary collateral to secure a loan. And this program, which we call SEED, allows them to get started by providing up to $15,000 in goods or equipment to establish or to expand their micro-business. Madam President, what is unique about this program is that it also facilitates skills development through a grant of a further $7,500 for training at a recognized, accredited institution of their choice. This combination allows young entrepreneurs and vulnerable persons to participate in the national economy, build their skills, generate wealth, and ultimately build a strong business and take care of their families. For fiscal 2021, 107 beneficiaries have received grant funding in this program, and the ministry will continue to encourage the use of this grant among our vulnerable citizens. We fully expect these entrepreneurs to build their businesses with the support of the ministry. We have many success stories of which we are so proud, and time does not permit for me to share some of these in the House today. The ministry is repurposing its adult education program to more effectively respond to the needs of our vulnerable clients. A new fit-for-purpose adult education program will enhance our clients' ability to transition from welfare to self-sufficiency, focusing on areas such as micro-enterprise, coaching, mentoring, accessing domestic and export markets, and money management, among others. We expect our clients participating in this SEED program to take full advantage of this program as well. As the nation continues to cope with the effects of the pandemic, the ministry continues to deliver social support measures to cushion the repercussions of the restrictive measures. Given the number of persons who were retrenched, terminated, or experienced a reduced income in both fiscal 2020 and 2021, affected persons were able to receive support through the government's grant system. In COVID phase one, the government spent $347 million on about 178,000 individuals and families who required food, rental, and income support benefited from this initiative. Phase two, just 2021, in June 2021, the income support grant phase two was opened to receive applications from eligible citizens using the ministry's online application platform. And a total of 1,158 applicants were approved and paid up to September the 30th, 2021, at a cost of just over $3 million. Food support for vulnerable persons through faith-based organizations. The government also partnered with 134 faith-based organizations to provide additional food support aimed at assisting families in providing the nutritional requirements for their dependents. Altogether, 81,000 hampers and food vouchers were distributed. In June of 2020, $30 million was provided over a 3-month period, and additionally, in March 2021, $10 million was provided to assist with food to vulnerable individuals and families within various communities in the country over a 3-month period. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services also collaborated with the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries on the Market Box Initiative to provide emergency food support to families in need during the stay-at-home period. And the ministry reached 24,999 families under this initiative, together with the Ministry of Agriculture, at a cost of approximately $15 million. And we received very positive feedback from recipients who told us that this initiative was a very welcome support during the stay-at-home period. The Ministry of Social Development has recognized, and I'm certain my colleagues will concur, that one of the key contributors to poverty alleviation in any society is the government's ability to meaningfully engage with civil society. And we acknowledge that inherent in that body of non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, youth clubs, and other specific interest groups is a level of passion and commitment to serve vulnerable populations that, when coupled with access to government's resources, can only redound to the benefit of all whom we seek to serve. To this end, initiatives were undertaken to support social sector NGOs through capacity building, partnerships, collaboration, and funding. Seeking to be more data-driven in its approach, the ministry has engaged the Cropper Foundation to undertake an assessment of the civil society sector with the aim of increasing the ministry's understanding of the civil society sector and its contribution to an alignment with social protection and resilience. The ministry has embarked on a number of social sector initiatives, such as a Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program. And this initiative is guided by the approach to national parenting and family policies of the government. Its introduction within the ministry has become necessary at this time due to the recognition of grandparents' critical role within the family and their contribution to the stability of the wider society. However, their increasing vulnerability in this role requires support from the ministry, bearing in mind always the best interest of the child. In fiscal 2021, the ministry inducted widows as a recognized vulnerable group and committed to ensuring that they receive their full rights in society. The ministry will extend its resources. Excuse me, Madam President. I'm getting wet here. There's a leak.
Honourable Senators, the sitting is suspended for 10 minutes.